I hear the call to defend our nation. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I see the dreams of those who have died and the hope for which we survive. I see the promise we have prayed for.
It's better for 9 criminals to be safe.
I see a
that is why you have to prove it is beyond reasonable doubt.
and the passion.
And in most cases, when people commit crime, even if you go to ordinary crimes that, let us say, raping of a lady, if a young man rapes a lady in the private, based on that law, it's so difficult for you. Because the doctor will have to examine, doctor, assuming that raping happened 24 hours before the lady gets to a medical doctor to check, the evidence would have gone. So you will see that somebody will commit a crime and get away with it because of the legal system. So most of those areas, the National Assembly, where the Senator, where the Lower House of Reps are looking at it, especially those ones that border on terrorism. We are strengthening the laws so that it will be more difficult for a criminal to get away with it. But I know that people that have been arrested have been prosecuted. What I know is that sometimes people that ordinarily you and me would feel that this person must have committed the offense, the law, they see it differently because of the issue of proving a case beyond reasonable doubt. If you talk about oil prices, luckily the oil minister is here, but when you talk about the effect of oil prices, Nigeria will want oil prices to come down because it does not help us. High oil prices don't help the country at all. Because we know that presently we don't have enough refining capacity. So we import a good percentage of our petroleum products, both aviation fuel, both PMS that we use in driving our cars, even diesel we import. And when we import, we buy it at the international markets. And locally, we subsidize petroleum products. If we had deregulated it completely and the people pay the international market price, then as a government, yes, the high oil prices would be to our own advantage. But now, even if you now sell a barrel of oil at $200, the Nigerian government, what we sell to our people is fixed. So the government absorbs that difference. So the high oil prices don't really translate to that kind of benefits for countries that subsidize petroleum products. And we still subsidize petroleum products. And until we get out of it, until we completely deregulate, we don't celebrate high oil prices. At the same time, we don't want the prices to come too low that will affect production, because that's where our main economy depends. But excessive high prices like that is going on now, above $100 per barrel, is not helpful to any country that produces oil and import petroleum products and subsidize the imports.
We'll take the next round of 3 questions. The gentleman from Gilbert. Yeah.
My name is Philipp Hedemann, Die Welt. Mr. President, Boko Haram is one of the reasons seems to be that Nigeria is rich in oil, but not many people actually benefit from that. They regularly accuse those who are in power and those who have the money of corruption. What can be done to make sure that more people benefit from the assets that Nigeria has, and what can be done to fight corruption?
Yes, just pass on the mic.
Thank you. Marina Zack, Financial Times Deutschland. Mr. President, a question on the German-Nigerian energy partnership. The partnership has been slow in the making, partly because of insufficient framework conditions in your country. Now, Mrs. Merkel's visit 9 months ago was supposed to give an impulse. Can you tell us what progress has been made in the partnership since then? And can you be more specific on the memorandum of understanding that was signed today concerning Siemens. I didn't quite understand what it was about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you want to take a little more?
Just
Take
one more.
another trail.
Okay.
The third one. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Susan Weber from African Tide here in Germany. My question goes like this. The intended Nigerian economic progress threatened by the unrest in the northern African and the eastern African, or should we assume that the issues of Nigeria is just a misunderstanding of cultural diversity? Thank you.
Thank you. The first has to do with Boko Haram. Of course, this is the second time the Boko Haram has to come up with the first 6 questions, because we know it's something that is quite topical and I expect it. But the premise is wrong, because sometimes the feeling is that, okay, Nigeria is an oil-rich country. Fine, we have a reasonable reserve of hydrocarbons, no doubt about that. But I always emphasize that in terms of richness or wealth, Nigeria is not rich, because Nigeria is a country of 167 million people. If you divide their reserves per head, per person, Nigeria is one of the lowest. You cannot compare Nigeria with Saudi Arabia and some of these Asian countries that have a population of between 4 to 10 million with huge reserves. And that is why people begin to think, oh, Nigeria, you have this kind of reserve. Why is that development is so slow? Because if you divide the reserves per head, Nigeria is not rich at all. Nigeria is poor in terms of oil wealth. But as, people always feel that, oh, Boko Haram come up because a section of the country, though you didn't say so, a section of the country is not taken care of. Some people even raise those insinuations. And we laugh, because I'm a president from the southern part of Nigeria. I just came into office for about 2 years now, including the period we concluded the tenure of the late president, and of course, after the election this year. These 2 years couldn't have caused Boko Haram. If you talked about the militancy in the Niger Delta, where the oil is produced, and the youth over the period agitated that the area is not developed, while oil is produced at their backyard, and they don't see development, they have no water to drink, no road infrastructure and so on. That led to that Niger Delta militancy that, of course, been able to get to a reasonable control. Then one can link it up directly with the oil industry. But the Boko Haram, when it came up, we never talked about the issues of corruption. The Boko Haram didn't start today also. I remember when their first leader was killed when I was the vice president, that was 2008. The issue Boko Haram raised then was that they feel the whole country must be governed by Islamic laws, or at least the north should be under Islamic laws. But our constitution makes Nigeria a secular state. They cannot govern using Islamic laws or using canonic laws as Christians, because it's a secular state. And of course, they also raise one issue, that the Western way of doing things, everything Western is corruption. It's not in line with the teachings of Allah. To the extent that some of them at the beginning divorced their wives that attended formal education, because they were anti-anything West. That has been their beginning. But now politics are crawling, criminality is crawling. So even armed robbers, bandits, criminals who operate in the northern Nigeria attack a bank, they say it's Boko Haram. If politicians, for one reason or the other, use local language, if young boys who are not well engaged, who use it mischievously to create chaos in some places, they say Boko Haram. So those are purely political. So if anybody come up with a statement that Boko Haram is operating because there's corruption in Nigeria or because there is poverty anywhere, I think that is not quite correct. Because if you look at the weapons that are being used by this Boko Haram, poor people cannot buy those kind of rifles. You need money to buy those kind of rifles, even if they are smuggled. Even if the improvised explosive devices they are using, you need money to buy the fertilizer of that grade, and so on and so forth. So it is not, but in terms of addressing the poverty generally in the country, yes, we agree. We are a country that a number of people are poor, and that is the essence of government, and that is what we are working at. That is why we are revolutionizing agriculture, because we believe that in managing agriculture, we'll be able to create wealth in all parts of the country, especially in the north, because that is the area you have a very vast land in the country. Well, they have vast land, but at the same time, the rainfall between 3 to 4 months, because the north is closer to the desert area. And you cannot depend on rain-fed agriculture for massive farming. So you must irrigate. If you have to irrigate, you have to dam your water bodies. And of course, if you must use agriculture to create wealth, you must also have power. And that's why both Minister of Water Resources and Minister of Power, they are all here with us, because we must dam all the water bodies in the north that we need to dam. We must provide water to all these farm settlements, and we must change our farming from the kind of rural subsistence farming that we are known to commercialize farming, so that a number of young people will get jobs. So we'll do that. But Boko Haram is not because of that, and we need to clear that. People who make those statements is purely political. That was not what brought Boko Haram. The Nigerian-German partnership raised by the second person in this phase, it is not slow, but maybe even to us, we are not really moving the pace we're supposed to move, and that is why this time around we are now formally setting up the Binational Commission. In Nigeria, we have this Binational Commission with the US, we have it with South Africa, we have it with a number of countries. Because if the exchange of heads of state visit alone, or even foreign ministers, it's a little more ceremonial. You come in with all the fanfare, military reception, and so on, and if you go, what next? So when we have this Binational Convention, that the technical people will be meeting like twice a year, then they will be able to handle this. But we are gaining something. For example, only today, the Minister of Power signed an MOU with Siemens to manufacture small and medium-sized turbines in this country. We are working with other companies that want to start their coal to power, 420 megawatts in Gombe. And we believe that that project will commence later this year. I believe from the date it will take off, between 2 to 2.5 years, they will start generating power. There are some other low-hanging fruits, like the dam a small Kirikiri dam in Adamawa State we discussed today. And I promise that immediately we get back, we'll fast-track it to make sure that it comes to fruition. So there are quite a number of things that are going on, though may not be moving with the pace we expect. So this relationship has been very helpful. And other areas that this energy partnership, if the minister, maybe before we leave the Minister of Power, if can give us some brief thoughts, but we are progressing quite significantly. The last question talks about, of course, also has some links with the issues of unrest. So you didn't want to use Boko Haram, so it will not sound monotonous, but it talks about unrest, whether it's a cause of cultural differences. It is not. Globally, very few countries have this kind of monocultural group. Most countries have diversity of tribes, even in the developed countries. They have very few countries that you see that so culturally homogeneous. Yes, in Nigeria we have quite a number of tribes. Even if you talk about the north, for example, if you ask the governor of Adamawa State alone is the northern state, northeast, where we even have Boko Haram, though it is not that much. Adamawa State is a northern state. One thing that everybody is